virement to be legal or for virement to have its legitimacy, then one of the conditions is that it must be approved by the National Assembly. Remember, it is the National Assembly that appropriates for ministries, departments, and agencies to spend public funds.
When fund meant for a project is diverted, what will happen? It deepens poverty. So budget padding distorts national planning. That is it. And when there's no planning, what do we have? Issues and problems.
Hello and welcome to Transparency Files, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Hawasani Garba. Today, we are exploring two crucial concepts in public budgeting, virement and budget padding. We will examine their key characteristics, their legality, and how they can be misused as tools for corruption. But before we dive into our main topic, we have other exciting segments for you, including Know Your Acts and reports from our state offices. First, let's go to Joy Aja for some highlights from around the Commission.
Welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. My name is Joy Aja. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, has commended the ICPC for its strong leadership in asset recovery and the fight against corruption in Nigeria. The commendation was delivered by the UNODC country representative, Mr. Sheikh Toure, during a courtesy visit to the ICPC recently. Mr. Toure praised the Commission's commitment to combating corruption despite the challenges facing the country. He noted that no nation recovers stolen assets as effectively as Nigeria, describing this as evidence of ICPC's outstanding work and its credible representation of Nigeria at international anti-corruption forums. In his response, the ICPC chairman, Dr. Musa Adamu Aliyu SAN, expressed appreciation for the visit, describing UNODC as a dependable partner of the Commission. Dr. Aliyu reiterated ICPC's readiness to collaborate with UNODC, especially in supporting the implementation of local government autonomy as a tool to reducing corruption at the grassroots. He informed the delegation that the Commission had recovered substantial sums for the country in tax and pension matters and had successfully blocked several corruption loopholes. The chairman also identified technology as a key area for collaboration, noting that corruption continues to evolve with the rise of artificial intelligence. In another development, ICPC has secured a final court order for the forfeiture of Hivi Hotel and the sum of over 14 million naira, linked to a former ExxonMobil employee who was apprehended for using fake credentials. The case involved the late Mr. Okon Tom Ekpo, a former staff member of ExxonMobil Producing Company. An ICPC investigation revealed that Mr. Ekpo had secured his employment by impersonating another individual and using his academic credentials to secure a job, leading to charges against him at the Ikeja High Court. Mr. Ekpo entered into plea bargain discussions with the ICPC, offering to forfeit Hivi Hotel located at Alafia Estate off the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the funds in his United Bank for Africa account. In December 2022, the Commission filed an in-rem application for the forfeiture of the assets of the defendant at the Federal High Court in Ikoyi. In January 2023, Honorable Justice T.G. Ringim granted an interim forfeiture order and directed the ICPC to publish notices of the order. The Commission complied, publishing the notices in Leadership and the Sun newspapers, as well as in the National Gazette on 16th of March 2023. After filing an affidavit of compliance and a motion for final forfeiture, the court granted the final order in March 2024, forfeiting the hotel and the 14.1 million naira to the federal government. Subsequently, the defendant's wife challenged the forfeiture, alleging fraud and seeking to set aside the court orders. The ICPC legal team, comprising Yvonne William Mbata, Rosin Eze, and Yemise Pereira, argued that the court was now functus officio, having no further authority on the matter, and that all due processes had been properly followed. In a ruling in November 2025, Honorable Justice Oweye of the Federal High Court Ikoyi had a landmark judgment where he dismissed the application for lack of merit. The court held that no evidence of fraud had been established and affirmed that it lacked jurisdiction to revisit a matter already determined by a final forfeiture order. The ICPC has described this ruling as a significant milestone in Nigeria's judicial precedent as regards in rem proceedings in accordance with sections 47 and 48 of the ICPC Act 2000, and also asset recovery efforts and its ongoing campaign against corruption. And that'll be all on this segment. Transparency Files continues with Hawa. Please stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Okay, I'll have that credited to account shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Meanwhile, can you smoothen this edge? Something is not properly done.
Okay, no problem. We'll go do it. Okay, sir. Okay.
Money don't come now. Make we go buy cement.
No, continue.
I don't understand. We need more cement now.
Carry sand, put plenty sand, mix and put the cement. I don't finish.
Make barara. Let's do this thing right.
Wait, did they give? What is Megba? See, listen. The money credited to my account is not for cement, oh. It's my own. Even you have a share in it.
Me, I don't take such share.
Okay.
I know they take.
Okay,
Oga?
don't take.
All this building collapse where they happen here and there. Now this kind of attitude, now they cause am. When I am called to do mago, I say no to it. It is corruption. Not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
If you are just tuning in, this is Transparency Files, and our focus is on VIREMENT and budget padding. VIREMENT is the official transfer of funds from one part of a budget to another following due process and formal approval. Budget padding, on the other hand, is a corrupt practice of intentionally inflating budget estimates or allocating funds for non-existent projects. It diverts public resources for personal or political gain. Nigeria's financial regulations provide clear rules for managing public funds, including specific conditions under which VIREMENT is permitted. So, how are these two concepts related, and how do they differ? Our crew spoke to the Director of the Finance and Accounts Department at ICPC for further explanation.
In public financial management, VIREMENT is the process where funds are transferred from one subhead to another subhead, one account to another, specifically within an organization. And this transfer does not involve the movement of cash, but it's just reallocation of resources of the organization to meet up with some unforeseen events that may have happened that were not envisaged when the budget was appropriated initially. In the case of budget padding, we're talking about a situation where ministries, departments, or agencies intentionally overinflate provisions or contracts that they insert in their budget, or overspecify, or even make excessive provisions in their budgets. This may be done in order to have some advantages which in themselves are not in the public interest. One, it may be in the agency wants to have discretionary powers to use those funds. Maybe they will be used for personal or financial benefits. But at times, altruistically, some agencies pad their budgets in envisaging that there will be a shortfall in their funding and they may use it. However, the fact that it is done surreptitiously, it is done in a way misrepresentatively, that's what makes it illegal, and the financial regulations does not make provisions for such. The distinguishing factor between the two is that for a VIREMENT process that has gone through as prescribed by the financial regulations, such a process becomes legal. It has legality, and there is audit trail, there is supervision, there's oversight by National Assembly, supervision by the Ministry of Finance, and even the Accountant General, Auditor General. They also have a role to play in that environment. However, in the case of padding, all these processes and procedures are not there. How they arrive at the figure in the budget may not follow standard costing procedures, may not follow procurement process. It's just somebody fraudulently wanting to have excess cash during the year, just increasing their budget provisions, and that's the most distinguishing factor. And like we said, the ICPC Act has provisions that covers the two. Now we're talking about similarity. For budget padding, section 22 sub 3 is against it. Then for illegal virement, that's virement that did not pass through the process, section 22 sub 5 is also against it. The financial regulations, particularly chapter 3, talks about how you can go about the virement process so that you're not against the law. For virement to be legal, or for virement to have its legitimacy, then one of the conditions is that it must be approved by the National Assembly. Remember, it is the National Assembly that appropriates for ministries, departments, and agencies to spend public funds. So for virement to be legal, first of all, it must be appropriated. It must pass through the National Assembly.
Nigeria has repeatedly faced controversies over budget padding, which have raised significant economic concerns. Notable instances include the 2016 debate over an alleged 40 billion naira adjustment that led to a lawmaker's suspension. Adding to this, the civic organization Budget reported the insertion of thousands of projects worth trillions of naira into a recent budget. This persistent trend prompts a critical question: what are the real socio-economic consequences for the nation? To explore this, our crew spoke with the head of the ICPC's constituency and executive project tracking group. Take a listen.
When you talk about budget padding, you are talking about when projects that were not originally conceived by agencies in their budget proposal rather, that are submitted, and eventually when such budget is now approved, what you now see will be higher than what was proposed. Let me give you an example. An agency A submitted a budget proposal of 2 billion. That is what that MDA can execute in that year. But when it is approved for that year, you see 100 billion. You can see the disparity. Then you now wonder, how will such agency or ministry be able to execute projects that were not conceived by it, that were not planned for, and that they do not have the skill set or competence to execute. So when you talk about project padding, you are talking about projects that are embedded in budget that are approved, that the agencies that own the budget, the agency that proposed the budget, did not conceive of. When fund meant for a project is diverted, what will happen? It deepens poverty. So budget padding distorts national planning. That is it. And when there's no planning, what do we have? Issues and problems. Then, like I said, when projects that were supposed to be executed by, let's say, Ministry of Works, bridges and whatever, then you give it to an agency of government that is supposed to do horticulture. What are you expecting? you are expecting distortion, you are not expecting efficiency in government spending. So these are the issues that, these are the socio-economic issues that we usually contend with when you are talking about budget padding. And again, there's what we call high cost of project implementation. Agency of government that does not have the skill set or the competence to execute projects, what do they do? They now move around and procure contractors or consultants rather to help them execute such project. That is added money. We are saying we don't have much money to execute a project. You are now procuring consultants again to execute such project. You know, it's like money down the drain. So essentially, value for money will not be achieved. There is a high cost of government project implementation, and people divert fund on projects. First of all, the solution is this: there should be engagement with the National Assembly members. When a budget is approved, that is a law. There's nothing anybody can do about it, and you know that National Assembly has the prerogative of doing that. Yeah. If it is a law, it is a law. There's nothing you can do. But thank God, the ICPC has devised a means now. When you say, okay, you have passed it, no problem. We collect the budget, we analyze it item by item, sector by sector, state by state, and we disaggregate it, we see everything. Then, we now invite the agencies concerned, come and give us roadmap to executing these projects. If we see a project, duplicated projects, what we usually do is that, okay, we invite the budget office of the Federation to confirm whether these projects are duplicated. When it is confirmed, then ICPC usually directs the budget office and the Ministry of Finance to restrain funding such projects. So that is what we have been doing, and it has been working. Then another thing we do is this: we invite the agency itself come and tell us, give us the pathway to executing these projects. When they give us or they don't give us, ICPC sends its officials to monitor such projects. Those are the projects we usually track the following year. We tell them that, okay, either padded budget or padded project, the following year we are going to track how such project was implemented, and it has always been a win-win situation for Nigeria. Because if the projects were not well executed, we either direct the agency or the contractor to go back to project site and do the needful and execute the project and do the repairs, or in a kind of egregious situation, we recover the money to national purse. We have recovered billions of naira into Nigerian purse.
Welcome to our Know Your Act segment. Section 22, subsection 5 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 states, any public officer who transfers or spends any sum allocated for a particular project or service on another project or service shall be guilty of an offense under this act. An ICPC prosecutor now explains the legal implications of unauthorized virement.
Section 22, subsection 5 of the ICPC Act prohibits virement. By that section, any public officer who spends money meant for a specific project on another project is guilty of an offense. If I may read the provision, it is section 22, subsection 5, which says, any public officer who transfers or spends any sum allocated for a particular project or service on another project or service shall be guilty of an offense under this act, and on conviction be liable to 1 year imprisonment or a fine of 50,000 naira. The Commission has secured convictions on this provision of the Act. I can remember vividly 2019, one John Ayoade Shamonda, a former Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, was convicted for this offense by an FCT High Court, and he was sentenced.
Welcome back. Now let's join Damilola Oyejegede for reports from our state offices.
ICPC Niger State has sensitized newly employed accountants and auditors in Niger State during a one-day training workshop themed Building Capacity for Effective Financial Management, organized by the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria. Superintendent Mohammed Suleiman Al-Hajj delivered a paper titled ICPC and You in the Fight Against Corruption, highlighting the importance of transparency, ethical conduct, and accountability in public financial management. Coming from Osun State, ICPC has urged the management of the newly established Federal University of Agriculture and Development Studies, Iragbiji, to uphold integrity, accountability, and transparency as it commences the 2025-2026 academic session. During a courtesy visit, the resident anti-corruption commissioner, Barrister Olatunji Yusuf, emphasized the need to establish an anti-corruption and transparency unit, ACTU, in the institution, while the Vice Chancellor's representative, Professor Wasiu Lawal, commended ICPC's efforts and pledged collaboration to promote ethical governance.
I am a Nigerian, a highly cultured race. My culture abhors corruption, and with my integrity, a new Nigeria is possible. I say no to corruption today to build a future for my children. Join me and imbibe the culture of integrity to build a Nigeria of our dreams.
It is unfortunate that some government functionaries, chief executives of agencies, and political office holders have yet to come to terms with a fundamental fact. It is an offense to transfer funds from one budget subhead to another without the approval of the National Assembly. This is made even worse by the practice of budget padding. Understanding the clear line between lawful virement and corrupt budget padding is crucial for good governance. Let's work together to promote transparency and accountability. Follow us on our social media platforms at ICPC Nigeria. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week, Friday at 6:30 p.m. This is Hawasani Garba saying bye for now.